Hello, hello everybody. I am Chandrasekhar, working in TSCRT as SADPA. Today I am here to discuss with you on the National Education Policy, draft National Education Policy. So I am here to discuss the salient features and also the outline of this National Education Policy, draft National Education Policy 2019, which is open for discussion for all of us. It's a wonderful document. It is a 484-page document with having four sections. First section is school education, and part two, which may be called as parts rather than sections. Part one is school education, and part two is higher education, and part three is additional key focus areas, and part four is transforming education. So these are the four parts, and also a preamble by the chairperson, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, and the message from Human Resource Development Minister Prakash Javadekar. So and also addendums are also there. So this, if we are actually going through the document, so this is a very huge document which discusses the major changes which are about to take place or proposed to take place in the country's educational scenario. There are a lot of structural and procedural or process-oriented changes which are proposed in the policy. So this needs a lot of discussion across the country, and also a lot of insights from all intellectual community and also practitioners and also the community, and also a lot of non-governmental organizations should also come forward to express their ideas, express their opinions, voice out their thoughts regarding whatever discussed in this draft National Education Policy. If you just going through the Mr. Prakash Javadekar, Honorable Minister for HRD's message, so Prakash Javadekar ji discusses on the focusing on the population of India, which is actually younger generation, the present generation, in which half of the Indian's population is under 26 years. That's what he is actually focusing or commenting in his message. By 2020, he puts forth the thing that India will be the youngest country in the world with median age 29 years. So he, in his message, he narrated the drafting of any national education policy, how the consultation process was initiated in January 2015, and then how was the bottom-up approach was actually made for the formulation of this policy from village level to block, district, state, and also national level. So one committee was constituted under the chairmanship of TSR Subramanian, former cabinet secretary. And this committee was named as Committee for Evolution of National Education Policy. So this committee was actually constituted during May 2016. So based on this, the committee gave its report. The ministry prepared some inputs for the draft National Education Policy 2016. This was the document prepared, and after that, based on this document, some inputs for the draft NEP 2016, based on this document, another committee was constituted under the chairmanship of Dr. K. Kasturirangan. Along with Dr. Kasturirangan, another 10 members were there, and the mandate of the committee was to submit the policy before December 2018. So this National Education Policy, according to Javadekar ji, claims that it is actually proposed on the foundational pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. These are the 5 foundational pillars for the national education policy: access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. So this committee submitted its Dr. K. Kasturirangan's committee. So submitted its report on December 15, 2018. So now this is for discussion. So if you just look at the evolution of this draft, it has taken nearly 5 years in which all of us can see the document, can read the document, and also can comment on this document. And after the Honorable HRD Minister's message, is a preamble written by the chairperson of the drafting committee, Dr. K. Kasturiranganji. So this is a very beautiful preamble written for this national education policy. So Dr. Kasturiranganji actually taking us through the journey of the committee. So this was first, the committee was formulated on June 2017. So the approach which was actually made by the committee was out of the box thinking. So committee invited a diverse set of ideas from all the sections of the society. Committee also met many individuals, institutions, organizations, groups of people. Whenever any person or any organization wanted to actually say something about educational reforms which are required for the country, the committee actually given opportunity, and everything was incorporated to craft this huge document. So according to Dr. K. Kasturiranganji, this proposed national education policy should be relevant and applicable for at least 2 decades within the context of the dynamic and fast changing nature of education space in India and around the world. So this is actually looking at the 20 years ahead, and this is like a vision for the education system in India. Committee, this national education policy actually proposed to revise and revamp all aspects of educational structures, its regulations and governance, and to create a new educational system. There are a lot of structural changes which are proposed, and I will discuss in the due course. So the committee looked at the document which was developed by UNESCO in 1996, Learning the Treasure Within. So in that, there are 4 types of learning which talks about, first one is learning to know. That is, one has to learning to learn, how to learn. That is learning to know the information maybe, or whatever knowledge. So we need to learning to know how to learn. So, and also second one is learning to do, and third one is learning to live together. So this is most important. So we need others' perspective. We are actually living in a society where the other person's perspectives, thoughts, we need to respect, and also mutual understanding, and the peace, everything is very much required. And the fourth one is learning to be, that is the uniqueness. So learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and taking all these 3, we can have our own thoughts, we can have our own perspective, learning to be, that uniqueness. So this is the learning the treasure within, in which the document talks about the preamble. In the preamble of draft national education policy talks about. So in the other section, like drawing from India's heritage. So the national education policy drafted taking into the many learnings and many rich heritage of India's the great country India. The preamble actually refers Swami Vivekananda's famous quote. I am actually reread this the famous quote. Education is not about information that we put into your brain and runs right there, undigested all your life. We must have life building, man making, character making, assimilation of ideas. If you have assimilated 5 ideas and made them your life and character, you have more education than any man who has got by heart a whole library of education, a whole library. If education is identical with information, the libraries are the greatest sages of the world and encyclopedia are the greatest rishis. So Swami Vivekananda's this statement, particular statement actually focus on man-making, character-building education rather than the information, the stuff, and whatever the information is not most important. If you are actually taking 5 ideas and made them your life and build your character, that is more than enough. If we are going to by heart the whole library, that's what Swami Vivekananda comments. And also Hugh Shi, the former ambassador of China to USA, this famous quote has been taken in the preamble. Hugh Shi, who was the former ambassador of China to USA, he says, India conquered and dominated China culturally for 20 years without ever having to send a single soldier across her border. This was the statement by former ambassador of China. This shows the greatness of our country. So even then, India has observed many cultures and also assimilating and blended them into a unique culture of its own. India is open for actually learning and also assimilation of culture. But even then, it is actually not forgiven its uniqueness. The Indianness is also there, even though there are many diversities and there are many languages and dialects are there. There is a uniqueness is there. And in the preamble, Einstein's quote is also actually mentioned. What Einstein said to a group of children is very interesting. Einstein said to a group of children like this: bear in mind that the wonderful things you learn in your schools is the work of many generations. So he says to the group of children, you bear in mind that the wonderful things you learn in your schools is the work of many generations. All this put into your hands as your inheritance in order that you may receive it, honor it, add to it, and one day faithfully hand it on to your children. Thus do we mortals achieve immortality in the permanent things that create in common. You see how wonderful it is. So this world actually never stops. The greatest people who are in the past, they have gone and we are here and we will also go away. And also the biggest lesson is the wonderful things in which we are learning in our schools. From this is the work of generations. That's what Einstein comments. And all this which are put into our hands in the form of textbooks, learning, teachings, whatever we learn in school, society, everything. And this, we have to receive it, honor it, and we have to add, we have to contribute something to the information, whatever we have actually taken, and then we have to pass it on to our next generation. So in this way, we mortals achieve immortality, the permanent things that we create a common. What a beautiful statement by Einstein. That's what, this is the statement which has taken in the preamble. So in the preamble, the other things also, how the previous education policies agenda has been taken into consideration. It may be National Policy on Education, which was 1986, which was formulated and modified in 1992. Before 1986 National Education Policy, it was drafted earlier during the year 1968 for that matter. And also the Constitution's 86th Amendment Act 2002, that inserted Article 21A in the Constitution of India, which envisages free and compulsory education from 6 to 14 years. And also the RT Act 2009, which was come into force in 2010. So it also talks about, the preamble talks about how the role of technology in education and governance and planning and management of education are most important. And also the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of 2030, which is very relevant to our education. That was actually discussed in the preamble, which says to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities. See, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities. So in the Sustainable Development Goal 4, there are 7 targets. Out of these 7 targets, 5 targets focus on quality education and outcomes. So in these 5 targets, inclusion and fostering quality of education is the main thing, in which education system should be supportive to learning, including supportive organizations, resources, and sound policies. So in this preamble, continuing with this, an integrated yet flexible approach to education was proposed. There are proposed structure for educational system. There are multiple exit and entry options are proposed in the education system. Concept of interconnectedness is there. Engagement of community is there. Liberal arts approach in higher education was proposed in the policy. Holistic approach, blending of humanities with science and technology, focus on high quality research, National Resource Foundation, one organization is coming up, facilitating transformation of the education system through Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, National Education Committee, and also facilitating national development. So there is another organization like Central Educational Statistics Division under NEPA, which takes care about statistics related to education. So ensuring implementation in spirit and intent. And also in this policy, the preamble actually discusses, there is a lot of flexibility is also given to states to make the policy for the state specific as per the context and issues prevailing in the states. So rightly in the preamble, it is rightly mentioned that any policy or any act, any changes for that matter, will not actually realize into the desired outcomes unless and until all of us, every individual, every citizen partners with the policy, our partners or join hands with the governance, contribute to it. So in this way, there is a call to every individual to contribute his or her best for the successful implementation of this policy. So by actually discussing this, a famous quote of Dr. Ambedkar about Constitution has been pointed in the preamble. Because I feel, however good a Constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be bad lot. However bad a Constitution may be, it may turn out to be a good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. The working of Constitution does not depend wholly upon the nature of the Constitution. So Dr. Ambedkar rightly points out that however good a Constitution may be, if it is given to the hands of bad people, it will turn out, the good Constitution will turn out bad. And if the bad Constitution, if it is in the hands of good people, those good people will turn out the bad Constitution into good Constitution. In the same way, the policy in which was a national education policy has to be taken by all of us and should be turn out to be good. That's what it is actually calling to all individuals. There is a call to need to be implemented national education policy with utmost care and commitment. So this is the preamble written by Dr. K. Kasturiranganji, who is the chairperson of the committee. This one section. And the vision of what is the vision of national education policy? The vision of national education policy, the NEP 2019, National Education Policy 2019, envisages an India-centered education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. See, we can actually focus on this India-centered education. We all know India is having very rich cultural and historical heritage for that matter. So India-centered education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. So this is the vision of the national education policy. So now I am taking all of you through the chapter by chapter I am taking you, and also I am just commenting, or I am actually giving you the outlines on what each chapter says. So when I say the chapter heading, there is an objective which is written on each chapter. What is the objective for that focused heading, and then what are the salient features? So for the first chapter, in the part first, the school education part first, there are 8 chapters are there. First chapter is early childhood care and education, the foundations of learning. So early childhood care and education, this is a very important thing in which national education policy discussed in the first chapter, which has given more prominence for early childhood care education, which is the foundation for the learning and foundation for all the education structures which are coming after the pre-primary education. So what is the objective written is every child in the age range of 3 to 6 years has access to free, safe, high quality, developmentally appropriate care and education by 2025. So this is the objective, and as rightly pointed out in the first chapter, 85% of child's cumulative development occurs prior to the age of 6 years. So this is the importance of pre-primary age, that is from the age of 3 to 6 years. In this age, proper care is required, nutrition is required, and health of the baby is very much important. How we are taking care, what nutrition food we are giving, what protection you are giving, what kind of exposure we are giving, what kind of the environment we are providing, flexible, joyful, playful environment we are providing. That is most important. This is the most important stage of one's own life. So in this period, early childhood care education, there are a lot of changes are proposed, and as the committee rightly pointed out, that the investment in early childhood care education is worth investing in it. The return for the investment is about, if you are investing ₹1 for early childhood care education, the returns will be ₹10. So in this context, there is a need for investing more in early childhood care education. That's what the report, the draft plan proposes. So the report rightly pointed out there is a severe learning crisis in the country, wherein there are about 5 crore children are lagging behind in the in learning the foundational skills like reading. There is a foundational literacy and numeracy. So this is because of most of them don't have the proper early childhood care education. So in this aspect, school preparedness is most important. That's what the report points out. From 0 to 3 years, nutrition health is most important, and 3 to 6 years, the child should get self-help skills, expression, communication skills, and all that. So the education should be the supervised play-based education. There is no, there should not be any pressure on learning, reading, writing, and all that. The joyful communication and also the expression, self-help skills, and all that. So learning alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, knowing about colors, shapes, concept of shapes, puzzles, and logical thinking, visual arts, craft. These are the things which are proposed to the child should learn in the pre-primary education, that is early childhood education. So how this learning has to be? It should be the children should have access to flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, discovery-based education. So, taking into consideration of 3 years of preschool education, that is from ages 3 to 6 years, and also grade 1 and 2, and that is first standard and second standard. 3 years of pre-primary education, maybe Anganwadi, or we can call it as play. In urban settings, we call it as play home, play group, LKG, UKG, and first standard and second standard. These 5 years, which has taken in, it has made a one stream called as foundational stage. So here, to develop and establish integrated foundational, curricular and pedagogical framework and teacher preparation. So the curricular framework, what needs to be taught, how, what needs to be delivered in the pre-primary education level, and how it should be, will be dealt in this curricular and pedagogical framework. This framework is proposed to be developed by NCERT. The scope of NCERT is actually increased, enhanced to look into this pre-primary education curricular course also. As we can see, there are 3 types of pre-primary education. One is Anganwadis, which is under Integrated Child Development Services, ICDS. There are a lot of private preschools are also there. There are few NGOs and other organizations, few number, they are running few pre-primary schools. So like this, Anganwadi should give nutrition, health, and also, but these are the law. There are more number of children are in Anganwadis, wherein Anganwadis are doing very excellent job, as the report comments. But this is lagging in deficient. This is deficient in educational aspects because of so many reasons, like the capacity building of Anganwadi workers, and also whatever it is transacted is not up to the level. So lack of school readiness competencies because of these Anganwadis. Maybe in urban settings where people send LKG, UKG, there are few good LKG, UKG, kindergarten, Montessori. They are having, the home setting is also very good, and also they expose it to some kind of environment wherein they learn the school preparedness, readiness will be good in urban settings. But whereas in the children who learn in Anganwadis, their the level of school readiness is less. The school readiness competence is less. So in this aspect, the most important thing is the educational aspects. Whatever it is deficient, this will be taken care in the coming days. And also the RTE, the mandate of NCERT, I already discussed. The mandate of RTE will be expanded to include the development of a curricular and pedagogical framework of early childhood care education. So in which the 4 type strategies are actually proposed: strengthening and expansion of the Anganwadi system to include a robust educational component, as I discussed right now. Educational component is less, and this has to be taken care. And second one is co-locating Anganwadis with primary schools. So wherever the primary schools are there, that the Anganwadis can be co-located there. And also co-locating preschools with primary schools wherever possible. This can also be done. Building standalone preschools wherever there are no Anganwadis or early childhood care schools are not there. So these are the four approaches which are made for providing access for the Anganwadis. This is done as per the local needs. These are the four approaches. So a survey has to be taken care, and also a database need to be maintained. As far as my comment for this is concerned, the mapping exercise of Anganwadis, mapping exercise, that to GIS mapping has to be taken care, wherein where are the primary schools are there, where are the Anganwadis are there, where are the in urban settings, where are these pre-primary schools are there, and what is the distances and all that, how to map these Anganwadis to nearest to primary schools, which is proposed in the committee. This GIS map, the school mapping exercise needs to be done for this. That's the GIS mapping. So there is as in the present this thing, the ECC component comes under the purview of Ministry of Women and Child Development. But there is a proposal to take it into the hands of Ministry of Human Resource Development. But for this, one joint task force will be constituted with the top officials of Ministry of Human Resource Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of Women and Child Development. These are the three ministries: Health, Education, and Women and Child, which will decide who will run Anganwadi centers. But definitely, the committee is for sure recommended that early childhood care education curriculum and pedagogy and all with related to Anganwadi centers and all preschools to be with Ministry of Human Resource Development. Education department should take care this early childhood care education curriculum and pedagogy. So to design learning friendly environments, professionalism of high quality educators for early childhood care education, high quality educators are required for this early childhood care education. So preparation of cadres of professionally qualified educators for early childhood care education by states through training, mentoring, and career mapping. There are lack of the committee. The report feels that there is a lack of proper educators. And the good educators can be prepared through training, mentoring, and career mapping. And for these Anganwadi teachers or teachers of pre-primary education, continuous professional development is required, and 6 months training for presently working Anganwadis is proposed. So instituting effective and quality